Yes, I know I'm a few weeks late. I know this movie's been out for a little while now. Like I said in my last movie review, I'm catching up with movies now because I just got my AMC A-list. I switched over to that from the Movie Pass, but I don't care. I don't care if it's late. I have to talk about this freaking movie. If this movie does not get nominated for some kind of award, I'm actually going to get triggered. Like, I rarely get mad when these things happen, and very often I feel like great films get the shaft. This is a movie where I don't see how this movie doesn't at least get nominated for something. I went to go see the film Searching today. The movie is, and I've only seen it once. I do want to go see it again, but as of the first time seeing this film, this is one of my favorite movies of the year and maybe even one of my favorite of the decade. I have to go back and watch it again a second time to see if it holds up, but this film, I mean, very rarely have I gone to see a film in the theater that has actually moved me and has actually kept me on the edge of my seat like this film. It's wonderfully directed, wonderfully acted, wonderfully written, and the, I guess, quote-unquote gimmick that it uses is absolutely brilliant. Now, this is not the first film to have used modern technology and social media to tell its story. There's been other movies that have been compared to this one, but none of them have done it this good. And at the end of the day, this is not one of those films that's supposed to be like a warning of the dangers of social media. On the other hand, this film actually portrays and displays the power of the internet, of social media, of technology, and how it's used in the movie is absolutely brilliant. So it was directed by a director named Anish Chaganty. I can't pronounce his name very well. It was written by him and somebody named Sev Ohanian. I'm sorry if I mispronounced the name, I apologize. But the last two reviews that I've done for The Nun and for Fahrenheit 11/9, I've pretty much told people, you know what, you can skip it, go get the red box if you want, that's fine. This is a movie that not only should you go see, but you should probably buy it the first day it comes out. At least I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. If you don't like buying movies, I'm sure it'll be on Netflix eventually, but this is a film that you have to see it in the movie theater. So the movie stars John Cho, who a lot of people know as Harold from Harold and Kumar. That was my first exposure to him, but he's been doing some really incredible films, and he is absolutely outstanding in this movie. Absolutely outstanding. If it wasn't for his acting, I don't think the emotional weight of the movie would hit you as well as it does. I don't think it would. And the story is that he's trying to find his missing 16-year-old daughter, who is a piano player, and they all live in San Jose, and he uses the internet, he uses computers to figure out and try to unravel this mystery. Now, this movie is, by definition, a suspense thriller, and the story of the movie, really the plot of the movie, is entirely done through the perspective of the father. Entirely done by John Cho, but not in a traditional sense, in that every shot of the movie is either inside of a computer screen or from a security camera or something that is within the realm of technology. In other words, it's still a movie. It still has like the sound effects and, you know, and the music and stuff like that to build up its drama and its, you know, the suspense and whatnot. But it's not a found film movie, but it's still so well crafted because it uses new techniques to kind of tell you what the characters are thinking and what they're going through. For example, you know, in the movie, he's texting somebody or typing to somebody, and then he erases the what he's saying, right? And that's kind of how we do sometimes in the real world. Sometimes we're going to text someone, and then we're like, I don't want to send that text right now because it might be a bad time. They do that a lot to kind of give you a peek into his head. So as the film progresses, he starts to question not only himself, not only his own family, but his own relationship with his daughter. I think one of the more powerful messages in this movie is, how well do you know your kids? I don't have any kids. Some of you listening to me, I've seen the demographics. Some of you do have kids. If you have children, you need to go see this movie, like this week. I mean, you can't waste any time. Go see this movie this week because it will really open your eyes about how people are, how your kids' friends might end up being. Like, there's a lot of things touched upon in this movie. Also, please, I am begging you, avoid spoilers. There's several times in this movie where you are baited. There are several twists in the film, and every single one makes sense, and every single one is so effective that by the time you get to the end of the movie, you felt like you went on a roller coaster ride. Plus, again, and this goes back to John Cho's acting, you relate with this guy. I don't have any kids, but just imagine if I lost one of my kids. If one of my kids went missing, did they run away? Did they get kidnapped? Are they involved in illegal activities? All these things are addressed to the point where sometimes you become so obsessed that you question your own family members. Do you trust them? Like, all of that's covered in the movie, and it's all done in this creative and unique and really breakthrough way. And again, there's other movies like Unfriended. Unfriended did this. The movie VHS sort of did this, but not quite as effective as this one, because it really, when they were making this movie, just the beginning, okay, the first 5 minutes of the film, you're seeing the computer boot up and we see Windows XP. And it just brought back all these warm, nostalgic feelings of seeing Windows XP. You see the old YouTube, the old Facebook, how it used to look, and you see the progression of technology alongside the progression of the daughter aging. You see things like that, and then it sort of sets the tone for what's to come. The movie does have a lot of sad moments in it, without spoiling it. It is kind of a movie that's meant to really squeeze your heart, but it's also going to keep you on the edge of your feet. This is also, to me, a huge, huge breakthrough film, because people have been saying this is the first mainstream Hollywood thriller that's been pretty much starring an Asian American actor, and all that stuff is great, but if the movie wasn't great, nobody would even care. It's kind of like Black Panther. Like, people made a big deal about Black Panther and how, it had a largely African American cast, but if the movie wasn't so great, it wouldn't be a big deal. And that was a great movie. And this is a great, 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 great film. In fact, this one's right up there with that movie, but they're very different. This film is comparable, and I'm not saying it's as good, okay? But it has the very same spirit of movies like Memento, The Game, Usual Suspects. It's a suspense thriller. That's what it is. But the way that the story unravels and the way the story purposely screws with you, it's not in any way condescending. It's actually one that you can sort of understand because of John Cho's acting and because of the way it's written. I cannot tell you how incredible this movie was. And I know some folks don't like it as much as I do. I don't care if you go see this movie and you don't like it as much as me, that's fine. But I find it hard to believe, whether or not you're a parent, I find it hard to believe that you won't enjoy this film. I find it hard to believe. One of the things about this movie that really stuck out to me from the beginning to the end is how there is literally no wasted motion in this film. The director, Anish Chaganty, literally every minute of this film serves a purpose. Every single shot, every single piece of dialogue serves a purpose to either tell you about a character, to tease something for the future, to give you a clue, or to move the story along. And there's very few movies that do that. Really the big thing about movies is the movie boring or is it entertaining? And this movie, from the beginning to the end, this guy didn't waste a single minute. And it's so hard to make movies like that. It's so hard to see movies like that, because you could pick movies apart and dissect them so much to where even like a small 3-minute scene, you could say, they could have cut that, they could have cut that. There's nothing in this film that I said they could have cut, not even a minute. And that's a testament to how incredible this movie was. Seriously. And as you watch the film, you get, like I said, you get inside of John Cho's head, and that's one of the ways why it's so relatable, because of the film technique and the way that he's always on the computer, whether it be using, video chat, whether it be using Gmail, stuff that we use every single day and take for granted, right? I think that the premise, the theme of this movie is part of the reason as to why the character's so relatable. Because, again, like I said, John Cho's a great actor, but that combined with sort of getting into his head by seeing what he's saying to his friends and family and to his daughter's friends and family is mind-blowing. And the movie, again, doesn't only raise the question of, can you trust, your own family? What about strangers in your life? What about your neighbors? What about people who are seemingly trying to help you? Can you trust them? It's a magnificent freaking film. I cannot tell you how much I love this movie. And I have to go see it again. I rarely go see movies twice in theaters. I may actually go see this one again. I'm thinking about it because It all depends on how much time I have, because I'm very busy this week. But I have always loved movies like this, these kind of suspense thrillers. But I feel like a lot of them fall apart because you don't care about the characters or the twist is stupid. In this movie, you care about the characters, all of them, and the different twists and turns the story takes that as you unravel the mystery of what's going on is effective. And I love how when you watch the film again for a second time, because when at the end of the movie, you kind of in your head replay the film, and then you're like, oh, okay, and then you start piecing together the puzzles, and then when you watch it a second time, you pick up on these puzzles, right? Some of the great movies of all time have done this, and I love movies like that. And that's one thing that I am going to wonder about if I go see it again. Is it going to take away the effectiveness of seeing the film for the first time, knowing what happens? I don't know. But either way, even if it does do that, the filmmaking, the cinematography, the unique aspect of the first person, because it's pretty much in first person view, except not in an annoying way, is just, it's a gimmick, but it's one that was executed so brilliantly that I can't even, there's just very few flaws to the film. I can't even think of a flaw in this movie, except for maybe that maybe upon replay, since you know everything, it might be less effective. But then again, a lot of movies are like that, and they're still classic. Anyways, I don't care if you're a parent. If you're a parent, you gotta go see this movie, because it really will make you wonder, what your kids' friends are like, or what they're gonna be like if they're little kids when they grow up. And it's also gonna make you sort of wonder how your kids are going to react to traumatic events. That's another thing that's brought up in this movie. There's a lot of very realistic, everything about this movie was like that. Very realistic, real world problems, in the film, but it's also not a movie that's going to remind you of how cruel the world is. It actually gives you some optimism, and it actually makes you feel empowered, because John Cho as David Kim is so driven to find out what happened to his daughter that he does things that are a little over the top, but not so over the top that's not realistic. I would totally do everything that he did in this movie. Almost everything. I would totally freaking see myself doing if my kid went missing. You need to go see this film. It's not a gimmick. It's a great fucking movie. And I cannot tell you, if this thing does not get nominated for a fucking award, I'm going to be livid. Anyways, sorry for cursing. I apologize. I don't curse that much on here, but I'm trying to tell y'all, go see the damn movie and thank me later. I'll catch you down the road.